So he's back now. So,
Okay.
President, we would like to have your welcome address.
Okay. That's a weird one. So I muted myself, and all of a sudden everything just got frozen there. And so yeah, we're back. We're back. We're just a little bit behind, about 10 minutes. Well, I welcome everyone to this event. I really, I'm excited that we're having this discussion. I don't know about you guys, because it's a topic that it's kind of sensitive, and I do realize that. But all the same, we need to have this level of awareness within our community when it comes to mental wellness. Last week, if I may do a quick recap, in April 29, we had our first event as executives of the Nigerian professionals in Manitoba. And that our HR folks gave us some very valuable insights in that area. And this time around, I think it is very important that we consider a topic around what has been going on around us. Even last month was actually Mental Wellness Awareness Month. And it is such a timely period to consider this type of a topic. And I personally have an experience when it comes to this area of mental wellness. As an individual, I've experienced it. Three things I could readily share without, letting letting the cat out of the bag, is that it is awareness is something that is not really very common with us, especially within our community. Secondly, it is a spectrum. It's a spectrum when we talk about wellness. You know what just happened now? My computer got frozen when we're supposed to start this event. This is what we're talking about. That event alone can trigger such issues. And finally, it is also a journey. For me, it was a journey. It was a journey that led me back into what I consider to be my purpose. Actually, it is a journey that led me to serving at the Nigerian professionals in Manitoba. I remember about few years ago, there was this event where there was a politician that was brought to educate us around things, when there's a political period and all that. And I asked some question about job search as an immigrant. I was really getting frustrated about all of these things. And I asked some questions of the politician, and then the kind of answer I got, I wasn't really impressed. And I tell you what, that period in time in my life, I was actually deep in depression. That incident actually triggered a crisis for me that night. People go through these things, but you know what, they don't come out to say it. But without much ado, I would like to say that we have brought a speaker today who is very knowledgeable about this particular topic. And I would allow our secretary elect to actually introduce her. Over to you, Mrs. Deola Luadare.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I feel so honored to be the one to introduce Miss Joyce Odison. And we're hoping that as we go on, that more people will join us because this is one information that we all need. Right. Um, Ms. Joyce Odison is a conflict analyst, speaker, author, a thought leader on interpersonal wellness. Joyce is the president of Interpersonal Wellness Services Incorporated, and she's also the founder of Coach Velocity School of Coaching, the only Black-owned coaching school in Canada. That is awesome. She's a certified coach. Joyce is a C-suite level workplace wellness expert, coach, trainer, working with government, private sector, nonprofits, and post-secondary institutions, struggling with difficult and stressful situations for 24 years. So, like our president mentioned, we had the right person to talk to us about this. She has over 24 years working with institutions. Well, in addition to all that, to all that we've mentioned, Joyce is also she has a master's degree in conflict analysis and management, so she definitely has the academic backing with everything that that she's doing as well. So she has a master's degree in conflict analysis and management. She is a certified training and development practitioner, former university and college instructor, founder of the Global Workplace Wellness Summit, and What's Happening at What podcast. So she does have a podcast, and one of the things I've done is to go look for her podcast and join. I think there'll be a lot for us to learn there. Joyce has been featured in Fast Company, CTV, CTTV, and she's also a contributing writer at Drive Global. Please give her a round of applause. I know we're muted, but I'm clapping. Welcome. We're happy to have you among us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is my pleasure to spend this afternoon with you this evening, and I'm just hoping that you can see my screen. And if you can give me permission to share my screen, that would be absolutely fantastic. And I will continue on. So, it is so important to have a topic like this. I was at my office and I was working with a client and he doubled over and he said, I'm having a heart attack. You see, that was early in my career and it caused me to have a heightened sense of awareness of what happens to us and the interpersonal relationships in our lives and how they relate to our well-being. So in my work, I have the privilege of looking at how do people's interpersonal exchanges intersect with their life and their work. Now I am going to try to share my screen here and I'm not quite sure what's going on here. This is a very odd share. Okay, it's not giving me. Well, we'll just go on.
So, Joyce, if I may confirm, do you have access to be able to share?
It's not giving me the opportunity to share my screen. It's giving
Try it
me
again.
Okay, so it's sharing whiteboard, but it's not. I'm not seeing my screen. I'm not quite sure what platform this is.
Okay, I'm gonna try to fix it here.
It's not showing any of my files. It's not giving me any opportunity to share. Dropbox, Google Drive. I just wanted a basic share to share my screen, but it's not. So I'll just go on from here, and if someone can try it out on their end and work on it, that would be fine. But so one of the things that we see in working with professionals as we work with each other, we recognize that what we do and what we say and how we interact with each other is a huge part of our well-being. In my company, Interpersonal Wellness Services, Inc., we do a lot of work around interpersonal well-being, and that intersects with our mental health, it intersects with our physical well-being, and it also intersects with a number of different things that we're seeing right now. Especially since the pandemic, we're seeing things like overwhelm, burnout, we're seeing a lot of other issues around employee mental health. And so the question is for us as individuals, especially those of us in the racialized communities, to be able to okay, I'm going to try now and see if it allows me to share. Thank you. Okay, it's telling me beta. Just not quite sure what this is. It's asking me to go into, I guess we should have tested it before because it's not. It's requiring me to go into SharePoint, Dropbox. It's not working as I anticipated. So we'll just go on. The key to us being able to maintain our mental health is to look at what are some of the triggers. So when we look at some of the triggers to mental health, we know some of it is lifestyle, some of it is choices, and a lot of it is stress. There are many autoimmune diseases that are impacting our communities, and I've been doing some number count and speaking to other professionals, and some of the things that's coming up are we're seeing more people struggling with their mental health and their autoimmune resistance to diseases, but autoimmune is where our own bodies start impacting us because of mental health. So these are some of the big things we're seeing in the workplace right now that's impacting professionals. And those of us who are entrepreneurs are just as likely to be suffering from those kinds of issues. So one of the questions we ask is, what is resilience for mental health? How do we get mental health resilience? One of the key factors around mental health is to understand what our triggers are and how to stay mentally well. Because in order for us to stay mentally well, we need to do a number of things. So I'm going to spend my time talking to you about the model that I use to work with clients to help them to develop an overall systemic wellness. Because often we've treated mental health as something over there, something that happens to those other people, or something that we're terrified of and we don't want to have happen to us. But we're never speaking about what is mental health resilience and how do we adopt mental health resilience in our lives. What is it we can do on a daily basis that will sustain our mental health and put us at a place where we can sustain it for a long time? Because all of us are going to face stresses, all of us are going to face challenges. We're going, especially those of us who immigrate. You know, I came to Canada at 19 for university, met my husband here, and ended up staying in Canada. But the older you are when you immigrate, the harder it is because we do not bring our social network with us. And social network is a huge part of mental health resilience. That's why it's very important to think about, who am I bringing into my life? Who am I keeping in my life? And what kind of relationships am I having with those individuals in my life? And one of the things that we're challenged with is sometimes we have relationships, but they're not quite trusting relationship. We're talking about the kinds of relationships that allows us to have a close connection, to be able to share and to have those connections that are meaningful to us. One of the things that I've noticed with some people, they have friends and they have different types of friends. And I think it's healthy to have groups of people that you spend time with, but then you need to have some people who you can really bring close to you, who you can trust, because it's a significant part of our safety. The human brain is designed to keep us healthy and alive. And when we're feeling unsafe, whether it's because we can't get employment, whether it's because we're struggling with culture shock, or we're feeling discriminated at work, or our workplace environment is stressful, or we're having family conflict, it doesn't matter. Any of those will get our brain into a state of anxiety and anxiousness, and we will start looking for, okay, my brain is not saying we're not safe, you're not safe, so it's on hyper alert. And those are added stress that we have to deal with. So as immigrants, it's very important to maintain a community as close to you as possible, to have that relationship and that support. Many of us from our home countries, we can ask a neighbor for some salt or sugar or stuff like that. But in North America, they have what they call individuality, and you're supposed to stand on your own. Where most of us have immigrated from a collective society where it's more homogeneous and people support each other. That is different in North America. So just the stress of immigrating, losing our social network is something that we have to take into consideration. And whatever we can do to create a welcoming environment for new immigrants or family members that we've brought over is very, very good. Because, especially because my husband is Nigerian, Eric is like, there is always a letter from back home. Well, it's not a letter anymore, it's an email or a WhatsApp message that there is some emergency and they need help. So most immigrants have another group of people besides their household that they're supporting financially. So that adds to the stress as well. One of the things that we can do with our stress is to have healthy conversations. And so we talk about the ability to have good, healthy conversations that allow us to reflect on what's happening, make sense of it, and then to rationalize it. Because we end up dealing with deep traumas that impact us, that end up becoming a challenge for us in our life. And then we're not able to work with our own clients, our own workplaces, our own families, bring their own traumas to it. And that in itself can cause us some challenges. The other thing that we do on our model, which is a 9-dimensional model, so we look at the spiritual wellness, and that looks at our ability to develop our own self-esteem, our own sense of self-worth, who we are, and what we are doing, and what we value. It looks at our culture. It also helps us to go deeper into our sense of integrity and our sense of purpose. One of the triggers to mental health is not having purpose in our life, right? Not having sound purpose, a focus, something that we're doing, and also maybe sometimes doing a lot of extra things. So some of us are open and prone to multitasking. It's one of the other areas that stresses us out that we can look at coming back and managing. One of the things that I've been doing, I think the person who spoke earlier talked about last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. And one of the pieces we did was some promotion around how we can use things like coaching to promote mental health. Because when we look at mental health resilience, we know resilience requires us to develop. We need to develop resilience. Resilience is pulling from what we've already saved. It's not it's not right away being able to bounce back. We have to have actually developed the resources in ourselves, our own sense of purpose, our own self of understanding of who we are. Those are the things that are going to give us the resilience. And in my model, we show resilience as part of our interpersonal. So if you've spoken to someone who has gone through a difficult time, someone who's gone for a very challenging situation, they will tell you that what pulls them through is the relationship. I came back for my mother. I did this for my son. I did this for my children. So all of these things are a big part of the motivation for us to come back and do what's important, and to strive and to break free of whatever challenges we're facing in our life. And that gives us the strength to be able to do that. And so resilience is something we build. In order for us to be resilient, we need to be spiritually well. And it's far more expansive than being just religious. Spiritual wellness, actually, there are a lot of religious people who are not spiritually well. So when we talk about spiritual wellness, we look at the elements of culture, core values. What are your values? One of the exercises I get my clients to do often in a presentation like this is to say, what are your values? Do you know the things you value? Take some time and write down your top 10 values. What are the things you value? What are the things you hold dear to you? And that helps you to be able to identify where some of your stresses are coming from. Because if there is a risk to you losing any of the things you value, that is added stress. And so information is power, because once you are aware that something I value is at risk, right? Maybe our independence, our employability, our job security, our family, children, marriages, anything that we value that is under stress can become an issue for us. The other area that we look at is our social wellness. So having that social network, it's important, but not just having a social network. We need to enhance the relationships in those social network, because many people have social network, but it's strewn with conflict. The interactions are very disharmonious, and it's backbiting, it's fighting, it's insecurity, and that raises the level of threat in our brain and adds to our stress level. So we need to look at the relationships in our lives. Are they trustworthy? Do we feel safe in those relationships? I often say that's a time to start cleaning out house. If you can do that assessment of the relationships, so just take some time now and look at the relationships in your life. Are they adding value to you? Are they a source of stress? Are they conflicted? Now, sometimes we inherit our relationships, but sometimes we choose our relationships. We often just accept the relationships and think we cannot do anything about it. But in order for us to maintain our own mental health, we need to take on the responsibility of saying this relationship is no longer working for my well-being, and give yourself permission to extricate yourself from those relationships that are adding added stress. In today's society, we have enough stress just surviving our day without getting sick or our family members getting sick is enough. So with COVID-19, we've seen the heightened exacerbation of stressful people. Um, the remembering to wash your hands, to wipe the door frame, to wipe the, all the little extra things that you have to do. And remembering how important it is to stay safe is one added. And so one of the things that I encourage people to do is take a look at the relationships that you have in your life. Is it relationships at work, relationships in your personal life? Are those relationships serving to reduce your stress level? That is one of the things, because one of the research in positive psychology shows that those in healthy relationships live longer than those without. So it's interesting, because if you are not in a relationship, you could experience a shorter lifespan, because humans are social beings and we're designed to be in relationships. However, if you are in unhealthy relationships, it diminishes your life expectancy. Fascinating how interconnected we are as humans. We come here with an umbilical cord. That belly button means that we are interconnected, and what we do does impact each other. So it's very important for us to do some relationship flushing, is what I call it. Look at who and what we need to flush out of our relationships so we can have better social interactions. The other dimension we look at is emotional. And when we talk about emotional wellness, we're talking about recognizing that your emotions are feelings you experience. They are not who you are. Too often we become so aligned with our emotional feelings, that we actually forget about who we are, and we become our feelings. Well, that is not what we want to attain. We want to attain self-mastery. Self-mastery allows me to know that my emotions are just things I'm experiencing. And so some of the normal range of emotions are depression. It's okay to have depression as a normal range of emotion, a bit of anxiety. All of those are normal. When we move beyond normal is when we're no longer rational. Is anxiety to the point where I don't feel safe anywhere and I'm having thoughts that are, I can't shut off my thoughts. So having chronic anxiety, having chronic depression, that is when you start going up to the gamut of mental health illnesses and disease. So one of the things that we're seeing is in the normal range, and since COVID-19, we're seeing the normal range of anxiety and depression has increased. So if you're feeling anxious or depressed, it doesn't mean that you have a mental health disease. You can momentarily have those. The question we ask is, how long is that lasting? How long are you spending in those places of anxiety and depression? Are they coming back? Are they becoming a cycle? Are you unable to shut off those thoughts? And that's where we start saying, okay, you need to get mental health. You need to work with a mental health expert. You need to start getting support. But as a coach, we work with individuals on that normal range of emotions. Are you depressed? You're feeling depressed today? What do you think is the cause? What are you focusing? What thoughts are you having that's causing you to feel depressed? And we have to remember that. So one of the things we look at in that emotional wellness um, dimension, we look at the thoughts, healthy thoughts. One of the things we need to train ourselves to do is to practice healthy thoughts. The ability to practice healthy thoughts and to share those thoughts in a meaningful, empowering way with others by acknowledging others instead of putting others down and looking at what's not good about them or who they think they are. We should be admonishing others in a positive way. We should be acknowledging others. So can we acknowledge that you have some strength, right? You're a really great person. You have a beautiful smile. You're very encouraging. And so we need to look for those opportunities to encourage ourselves and each other, affirm ourselves. It's a very powerful and important aspect of staying mentally healthy is to have what we call powerful affirmations. Sometimes we have clients writing those affirmations down and carrying with them in their purse, in their wallet, on their monitor screen. All of those are ways we can enhance our ability to stay out of the threat zone. Because anytime we have those negative thoughts and we have those pessimistic thoughts, they can lead to depression and anxiety. And the more we dwell on those thoughts, will keep us in that space. We want to limit the times we spend in depression and anxiety. And we need to look at the thoughts we're having. What are we telling ourselves? What are you telling yourself you cannot do? I think this is the biggest bone of contention with my husband because in my world you can do it. You can do anything, and he tells me that's hard. I was like, nothing is hard. It's your thoughts that are hard, and so I always challenge him, and he's like, okay, right. But I believe that everything starts with a thought. What is it that you see? Ask yourself different questions. Is it hard, or you just don't know how to do it? Right? So one of the things that we do is reframing what's presented in front of us. Instead of seeing something as difficult, say, well, I don't know how to do it yet, but I wonder who can help me. Who can show me? Who can teach me? Who can coach? Who can mentor? And that brings me to a very important aspect in our community, in the Black communities as a whole. We don't have enough coaches and mentors working with our people and providing them with the support they need. The thinking, expanding the thinking capacity. We stay with the limited thinking often, and that creates stress and stressful thoughts. So one of the things that I have done is with our Coach Velocity School of Coaching is trying to make coaching more accessible to people in our community so they understand how to change their thoughts and how to coach themselves and how to get out of the negative. We tend to engage there too much, and we need to reprogram our mind because life changes and things changes. We don't necessarily have control over the changes that are external. What we do though have control over is the psychological part of it. So the transition is the psychological aspect of change. That is what we tell, the psychological and the emotional, what we tell ourselves about the changes we are experiencing. This is horrible, or this doesn't feel okay right now, but it's because I don't know where I'm at and I don't know who to talk to. What if I focus on answering those questions? Whom should I speak to? Who should I reach out to? Who might know? Who might be able to support me through this? Those are important things to build in our community, because when we immigrate, we don't bring our social network. We don't necessarily have grandparents, great-grandparents, uncle, auntie, and all those people that have no blood relation, but still are our aunts and uncles, right? We don't necessarily have that with us when we immigrate. And so as immigrants, we need to learn how to switch our thought processes and how to find those people who can champion us. And they are in the least likely places. So I'll just share with you some of the things that I have been doing to champion and to create uh, in the space. In our program, one of the things we've done is create singular courses so people can actually get, and I will give you all access to a course I developed. It's a free course, but what it allows you to do is to be able to go in and start switching your thoughts around coaching conversations and change and how we change and how we can change our thoughts and start to question yourself. When you have a thought, question it. Don't just accept every thought that comes to your mind. Thoughts are random. When you wake up in the morning, you don't say, aha, I'm up now. I wonder when I can start thinking. No, thoughts will just appear in your mind. You don't have any control of the thoughts that come into your mind, but what you have control over is the thoughts you dwell on, the thoughts you allow yourself to focus on and expand on. So coaching is a process of examining our thoughts. When you're able to examine your thoughts and question your thoughts, you're more likely to control your life. And so that's a very important skill that is not as prevalent in our community, and something that I am dedicated to changing as much as possible. And every semester, every quarter, I always looking at people we can bring on and expand. And I'll share with you, I have in 2009, our school became the first internationally recognized coach training school. And I've been looking for Black coaches, coach trainers who are internationally recognized and certified. I had the worst time finding them. Even in the US, I couldn't find. And the few that I find, I have to develop them, right? And it is so sad because this is an area, coaching in itself is such a powerful tool. There are a couple of individuals, professionals in the city that I brought on through our last cohort. And yesterday we were actually having this conversation about how we can use coaching to empower our people. Coaching has for too long been an elite process when you can't access coaching if you don't have $150 minimum an hour. You couldn't get a junior coach to work with you. And it's been something for the elite, but my goal is to make it more accessible. So if we can get more coaching people with that mentality in our community, we can change the trajectory of our lives. We can reduce our stress level. We can be healthier and wealthier. And that's something that that's like my mission is be that. And so where I sit and what I do, I'm very focused on some key elements and key struggles of the community. Having been here for over 30 years and worked in this field for 25 years, I see a lot of the struggles. I see a lot of employees who come to see me from their workplaces who are struggling with racism and discrimination and harassment and microaggression, and they are Black, and many of them are immigrants. And so when I see that, it galvanizes me to want to make more changes. Because when we look at the occupational wellness, we know it has a very important aspect in our mental health. Right now, I know of several professionals who are ill from work. There's one woman who is PhD, and she was a dean at one of the big colleges. She had a massive heart attack at 53 years old. And it's just, this is not an obese or out of, this is someone who's taking care of herself, doesn't have fat on her body. And it's the stress. And she says, Joyce, it's the stress. You always have to watch your back, and you have to watch out for the students, and you have to watch out for, because there's so much systemic racism. It is also an element of the additional stress that our people face at work. So we need to have healthy places for conversation around that and dialogue around that. And again, we can use a coaching framework to create safe places for conversation where we're not blaming, accusing, and judging, but we can ask curious questions that allow us to go back and say, what can I do differently? How can I respond to this challenge at work? What can I change about my execution and my interaction? And so that's very, very important for us to bring strategies and tools that we can actionize and use to make long-term change. One of my values is legacy. And so if you look at my business or my life or my work, it's always about building legacy, things that will be here long, long after I'm gone off the planet, but really to ensure that it's far-reaching and making significant changes in our lives. The other area that I spend a lot of time with is the workplace wellness, because again, I see, for instance, I'm one of the practitioners with Health Canada, so that services the federal government department. And most of the employees, there's been a lot of kerfuffle with there's a Black people, there's a class action suit by Black employees for the federal government. And that has resulted in a lot of letters from the ministers and initiatives of what they're going to do differently. And so one of the initiatives is to create more dialogue and to eradicate systemic racism. And many of the employees are asking to have a coach or a conflict analyst from a BIPOC community. And there are very few of us. So, and that's another area, again, is accessibility and creating ourselves and getting ourselves ready for when the opportunities come. When you have downtime, make sure you're doing something fruitful with it, right? No money comes to you if you just watch a movie. Not that movies are bad. I don't have time for them. But but I think we need to start using our time wisely and getting ourselves set up so that when the opportunities knock, we have what we need. One of the things that they say to me is that, Joyce, we can come to you for any of these training needs we have, whereas if we go to someone else, they now have to go research and develop it. And I think it's very important for us to set up ourselves so we can help others, we can help ourselves, but we can also create role models, be there and be able to support, because many of these individuals are so happy to work with someone that looks like them. It's a release of their stress to be able to have someone with the lived experience that you can talk to. And that's why it's so important for us to develop those skill set in our community. It's different to go speak to a white coach or white therapist than it is to have that in your community, someone with the lived experience who can understand. And that's what the employees continue to tell us from time to time. So that's why I'm so passionate about creating those expertise and developing them in the Black community, because there is a lack. There is a big lack. I'm the only conflict analyst in this realm at the level that I work. And so those are areas that we helping people, the area of helping people, interpersonal skill development, support, that is the area where we're going to see our economy boom, because artificial intelligence is here and a lot of things, a lot of the other jobs are going to be automated. I mean, look at COVID-19, a lot of things have been automated and a lot more will be. So we have to look at those social and soft skills are going to become much, much more important because people are lonelier, right? You don't have a lot of social interactions, and part of what we do. So we just got an email today for more of those mindset shift around COVID and remote work. That's another added stress for people. So those are some of the things that we can look at. Where are we stressed in our work realm, and how can we develop well-being in those areas? But I'm going to stop now and ask if you have any questions and go from there, because I didn't ask you how much time I had.
Yeah, so
Thank you
I think
so much.
go on.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. It's been a very rich presentation. I've learned so much, and the questions have started rolling in already. The first question we have here says, what's the education path?
Did you lose your mic?
Yeah, I think maybe she dropped off there. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
What is the education path of
I
becoming
think
a
it
coach?
has, okay.
Um, really, I always say you just need to love people to become a coach, and you go to a good coach training school and get trained. Right now we do Coach Velocity School of Coaching. I can speak to our coach training program because our instructors really do invest in our students. So once you become certified from our school, we give you everything you need to become an international recognized coach member from the ICF, International Coach Federation, and then you can pursue accreditation with them, but you actually will be getting most of what you need for your accreditation through our program. And I'm not here to sell coach training. That is not my intention. We do have a lot of work. It's not that we'll turn people away, but I just wanted to share with you guys because even in that conversation last night, and those two individuals are PhD holders, and they said to me, Joyce, I have never taken training like this because our goal is to invest in our community and develop our people. So we put a lot of ourselves. I put a lot of myself in the program, and my instructors I handpick them, and they are very committed to doing that because we know that with coaching, all of us have coaches. All of us coaches have coaches because we know it is changing the trajectory of our lives and our clients' life. So what I will do for all of you today is I will send a link to your spokesperson here. We have a free course that you can take. It will give you some tools and some skills. You don't have to become a coach. You can take a coach training course. We have over 50 courses in our school. You can buy a course, take a course, take the free course, learn something, do research, just develop yourself. And if you're looking to become certified, then certainly you can follow up with us in that regard. But it is such a powerful way to look at how we're living our lives, what we're doing, and how we can transform. I will also send the 9-dimensional tool that I was talking about, because I would have loved to share it with you, but I have been teaching on Zoom for ages, and I've never seen this this sharing thing here.
So Joyce, I noticed that there are some tabs up there. There's a basic, there's the like maybe the basic one where you can actually share your
I
files.
know, like I teach on here all the time. The only thing that's coming up for me is whiteboard. I teach at least 6 classes per day, and I teach for everybody. This morning I was teaching in Miami University in Ohio. Like, I'm sharing my screen like several times a day, and I've never seen this one before, because it's giving me beta PowerPoint, and then when I go to that, it's sending me to my files. So I have to go into my files. Yeah, it's not just straight go to my screen and share what's populated. So like, you're supposed to see all the stuff on your screen. So I'm not quite sure what this is. Anyway,
Right.
so I will play around and see if I can pull up something on Dropbox here for you, and if it will open up and share. But the reality here is that we do want to develop ourselves and be competitive so that we can build wealth in our community. That is one of the biggest struggles of our communities, is that not being successful is a financial stress, is a huge impact on people's well-being. So we do have to look at ways to develop in those areas.
Okay, thank you very much, Joyce, for the response on that. We still have some other questions.
Any other questions? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, we still have some other questions that are flown in, and this one that I'm taking is a 2 questions embedded into one. You said something about resilience, and I believe that as Nigerians, we are quite resilient, despite the fact that we are not seeing your slides. We are able to connect and understand what you are communicating. We appreciate that. So this question says, is there any connection between mental health balance and marital relationship? And the person that raised that question is giving an example. And the example is, for instance, you have partners who are working at home in their countries, while the other spouse takes care of the family in Canada. How do they balance this? That is the part A of the question. That's the part A of the question. The part B of the question is, are there resources available to support in this situation?
You guys see that?
Oh,
Can you guys see this? It's down.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, I will keep trying that. So I'm going to answer that question because I think this is a very important question when we look at the challenges of immigration. It is hard when you don't have your social network. In terms of what resources you have, there is added stress that comes with being a single parent, especially when you're not used to doing that. But I think there's a women's resource center that offers counseling in, I think it's Fort Gary. So those are some of the things that comes to mind, and you can check in with them. I think it's called the Women's Resource Center, and they provide some support. I'm a little distracted here because I want to get I want you guys to see the model, and I'm a little bit, but yeah, that is definitely one way to go and get help from them. What else? Resources. If you're struggling with financial, you can look at the food bank. They also provide support, and those are not things to be um, hesitant to access. They're there for that. They're there for us to access. So please do access them as much as possible. Um, I'm going to try to open this thing because it's going to download. And then, okay, so it's downloading, and I'm going to see. So this is you will see this on my website when you go in on the if you go to our IWS website, and then we look at the different ways that we stay well. There's logic and mindset. And in that, the logic and mindset, we look at physical wellness, financial wellness, intellectual wellness, as well as environmental wellness. Those are some ways, areas where we need to stay well and focus on maintaining wellness in those areas. And then over here, we look at intuition and relationship, and that focuses on us being well in emotional, spiritual, social, and occupational. And then, of course, there is the interpersonal when I talk about conflicting relationship. So in terms of the marital support, you're not having the spouse, there was another element to that question. Can you just repeat it again? I think I'm missing some part of it.
Yeah, the other element is was the relationship between mental health balance and marital relationship. Or yeah, where a partner is working in home countries while the other spouse takes care of the family in Canada.
Well, that in itself is not a statistical issue per se. It all depends on the level of support you're getting from your spouse and how you guys are working your relationship. It can work fine. However, if you're facing isolation, loneliness, and then the relationship is in turmoil, then that is added stress, and then you're going to feel a sense of threat if you don't have a lot of trust around whether your relationship is monogamous or not. So those are some of the things that may send you into threat. And as I said earlier, anything that the brain perceives as threat is going to put you on hyper alert and may cause some, depression, anxiety. And those are things that you need to deal with right away. Have a conversation with someone. The element and the reason why I'm stressing to have healthy conversations, because a lot of times we don't know how to have healthy conversations in our community. When somebody tells us something, we're like, well, you should do this and you should do that. And why aren't you doing this? And so one of the skills you learn in a coaching conversation is to say, so tell me more about that. What are your thoughts around that? How does that make you feel? It's no judgment. It's no criticism. And it's a safe conversation. And we need to have those safe conversations in our community without people feeling judged, accused, put down, and whipped. So there's a time to teach, and then there's a time to listen and support. And supportive conversations are where we develop people. We need to develop our people, not beat them. We've been beaten enough with colonization and segregation and racism and the whole, I think it's time for us to look at the developmental aspect. Even when someone is being silly, to be able to say, well, okay, so you made this choice. Where do you go from here? What are the options left to do? And really always looking for the next opportunity and how we can develop. Next question, is there another one?
Yep, sure. The other question says, you mentioned spiritual wellness. Can you elaborate on this? And
Okay.
can mental sickness be successfully managed through spiritual consultations, probably through prayers and fasting?
I love this question. Okay, so now you can see the model, and it's looking weird because it's like a background now instead of just a sharing. So I apologize that I'm showing up as part of it. But one of the things to think about for spiritual wellness, religion is only one aspect of spiritual wellness. So you notice where it is there, religion is only one element of spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness is about you finding balance. Balance meaning that you get out of overwhelm. It's about you finding your purpose, your vision, you doing the work for your own self-esteem, your sense of self-worth, looking at the things that you believe in. A lot of us carry negative beliefs about ourselves and about others. So looking at those, developing our faith in ourselves, a faith in God. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in the Bible. I believe prayers are healing. Absolutely. But I believe God does not create tables. God created you. When when Solomon was building the temple, God said, I will give them knowledge and expertise. God has given that to mankind. So he has given knowledge and expertise to the physicians, to the mental health clinicians. So why are we asking God to do what he's given them to do? There is human effort and divine intervention. We shouldn't just go to church and pray and fast. We should also get the human intervention. So we work in tangent with God. It takes human effort and divine intervention. So yes, pray and fast and meditate on good things. Many times we are sick because of what we watch. We watch all kinds of crazy things. If I go watch one of those things, I won't be able to sleep either, right? So we need to start being very careful what we put into our body, our mind, what we eat, what we sleep, what we look at, what we listen to. Those are very important in maintaining our mental health, right? You can't be watching things from people. Most of the things we watch are not from people who are Christians or have a best interest at heart. They just want to sell their whatever they're selling, and they're making it as exciting as possible. And so we need to start questioning ourselves. What is this? What is the value of me imbibing in this book or this movie or this TV show or this whatever it is? Look for the things that are wholesome, the things that would elevate you. Those are the things that will sustain your mental health. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun. You can have fun, but let it be things that will elevate your mind and reduce the threat level in your life so that you feel safe. And those are the things that you can do to maintain your mental health. And if there are people that are stressing you out, tell them goodbye. It's okay. You don't have to associate with people who are making you feel unsafe. And that could be a spouse. And that's where marital counseling comes in, right? That's where you get support, where you go into individual sessions and develop your skills, right? You take some courses, develop your skills, develop your communication, develop your ability to resolve conflict. Those are healthy things to do. Those skills are there to learn. Praying is great. Pray for God to show you the light to get access to those skills, to develop yourself and your spouse so you can have better conversations.
Thank you very much. I wish I could stand up and start clapping, but it's on Zoom. So I've got another question, and this question has got to do with the theme of today's talk, that is talking about mental health and work-life balance. And the question is, now that we are in a new normal, everybody's working from home, our homes have been turned into our offices. How can we maintain a life balance and not feel frustrated even in such an environment? It is no longer those days when you leave your stress at home or you leave your stress at work. Now everything is all in the same bubble. How do we maintain a balance in that?
Yes, we are in the era where work is wherever you are. So we don't get to physically remove ourselves as much as we did prior to the pandemic, but we can create sections. So find a place in your house. If it's a desk, where it's work desk, and learn, create some rituals around stations. So you could create stations in your home, right? If you're going to be working between 9 to 5, then your dining table is all you have, then that dining table should look like an office from 9 to 12, if that's the working hour. If it's and then you have to respect yourself enough to turn it off at the end of the day. The other thing to remember is to take breaks. Take breaks. It's hard when you are, I don't know about you, but I love my work. I could work 24/7 if there wasn't that thing called burnout that I have to worry about, right? So I love my work. I love to write. I love to be on here. I'm always creating something. I just read my 6th book. It's me. It's what I created to do. And so I could work all the time. And I've had to tell myself, okay, you know what? As much as it is fun to do this and I'm enjoying this, my body deserves a break. The movement, you need to move every day. You need to give yourself that break. So take the break, take your 15-minute break that is allowed to you. And when you're sitting all day at the computer, find ways to stand. So I'm at my home office today because I started at 7 this morning, so I didn't go into my home, and I've been on. I've had some break. We just came back from the park for a walk, my husband and I. He came home, met me. We went to the park for an hour. I came back, showered, and here I am. So you have to build work around your life. It's very important. I'm sharing that so you can see it's doable. What did I do after my keynote this morning? I had another meeting. Then I went and I had a plantain. My husband had got me some plantain, so I made some little plantain chips. I had my brunch. I went outside, I sat in the sun, had my brunch, came back in, had a nap. I work for myself, so I can do all of those things. But but you could have a 15-minute power nap, right? Or so I'm just sharing. You can find ways to be creative. And I know some of you have little kids at home, but there are ways you can make them part of the activities, get them in their hands, get them part of making lunch and getting those. When my kids were little, they had chores and they were involved in everything. And we have to make lemonade out of the lemons we've been given. Don't look at your life and say it's hard and difficult. Look at your life and say, what am I facing right now, and how can I make it as stressless and easy and exciting and happy as possible? You know what we used to make fun with? I did a recipe every Saturday evening. I would make the menu for the week, and my kids would get to give their input as to what mom should cook for the week. My kids are now 35 and 26, so that was way back when they were little, and they would get to have input. And even now, my son is still living at home. Him and my husband will still get input as to what I cook for the week. What do you guys want to eat this week? Is the common question they will get on a Saturday night. And then Sunday we shop. So even those little things, getting the kids involved, making it fun. And then when I cook on Sundays, I will cook for the week, and they would come in and they would want to eat their favorite stuff. And I'm like, nope, let's eat that. And so we'll have game, okay, who gets to choose what we eat tonight? There are lots of little things that you can do that makes life. And I wanted my kids to learn to cook and to love food, and that was my way to do it. And thank God they both love cooking, and they great cooks. I didn't want them to be afraid of the kitchen. I wanted them to recognize the value and the independence that comes from knowing what you put in your body. And so that was something that was very important to me. So I built it into our lifestyle. So those of you with young families, think about your values. Part of spiritual wellness is knowing your values. What are your values? What do you value? Can I see it in your life? If I were to be your neighbor or come across the streets and use a mic, peek into your house, would I see you demonstrating those values in your life and in your interaction with your kids and with your spouse? That's really important. That is a way to stay healthy and to stay balanced, because you are not having that conflict inside. When you're living a life that's not true with your values, you are going to have that internal conflict, and you're going to find yourself struggling, and that can be one issue that will lead to depression and anxiety and so forth. So there are, of course, full-blown mental health disease where people become bipolar and schizophrenic, and those are treated with hospitalization. Those are treated, but it doesn't mean that people can't come back when they've had mental health. And I'm so tired of people using mental health. I did an article on mental health for last month, and I talked about how I was going in the garden. I was and I twisted my ankle, and it was so painful. I had to go to emergency, and I paced it back and I said, "What if that was my brain that I had gotten a sprain?" So I want you to think of the same thing. The brain is part of your body. If you have a sprain, you have a mental health illness, it doesn't mean that you're going to be forever mentally sick, right? So there is mental health, there is mental illness, and there is mental disease. You can have a mental health disease diagnosis like bipolar and still be able to live a very normal life. Once you get the right medication, the right treatment, you can continue and maintain a very healthy life. If you're practicing a full whole life system process where you're taking care of all those dimensions of your life and you're having healthy, safe conversations. Talk is therapy in a safe environment. Talk is therapeutic. And when we have those conversation models where we can dialogue openly and feel safe and not chastise and criticize or gossiped about, it is very empowering because it helps us when we hear ourselves talk about something. It helps us to get more wisdom. It helps us to develop more insight about who we are and who we're designed to be, and it empowers us. Humans are designed to develop in networks of relationships, and we need to have safe conversational framework so people can develop their mind, their thinking, their talents, their skills. That's how we're going to excel. That's how we're going to thrive. So we're going to break through the barriers of systemic racism. If we continue with our critical mode of conversation, I mean critical in a negative, down, beating people on the head, and in a in a conversational way, and telling them how stupid they are, we're not going to move and rise like we do. We need to have more embracing healthy conversations. Any other question?
Thank you very much. From me, that is all the questions that we are sent in. I want to thank you very much for giving us responses to those questions and insight into other areas that we never even thought of. You're good there into the spiritual aspects, and Nigerians, I know, are mostly spiritual people. So we want to say thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. We really appreciate your time. And on behalf of the executive and every member of Nigerian professionals, I want to say thank you very much for your presentation.
Oh, very welcome. Thank you for being here and for inviting me. It was my pleasure to share with you guys. And I will send you the links to, there's another course on emotional wellness. That's another free course. So take those courses and use them. That's what they're there for. I created them myself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Uh,
Joyce.
okay, yeah,
Uh,
President, you can take over.
hey, thanks, Joyce. I mean, the information we have here is such a huge, you know, nuggets that we have of, various helpful information and insights. As somebody who has experienced depression myself, so I have some insight into some of these things. And but we can go on and on still. But what we will do is we will share some of those resources that you're gonna send to us. We're gonna share with the community, And but for now, we really want to appreciate your time here sharing with us. Hopefully, I'm motivated to become a coach. I do coach in other areas, but this time around, we're talking about the wellness, and I see there is a huge gap in those areas as well. Well, thanks so much. We're gonna move on to the community updates, where our PR will provide information regarding activities that are happening in our community and the information that we need to know. Over to you, Mr. PRO.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, everybody again.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
so we want to thank our guest speaker again and all of us who have been part of it. So we just want to share briefly with you a few things for us to, take note of. Um, the first that I want to plead with us is to know that there are information that are actually for our benefit. So we want you to please try. Let's try as much as possible uh, to take advantage of it. Seed Winnipeg is providing a 25 million fund over the next 5 years, to support Black entrepreneurs. And it's only when we take advantage of it that we can take these benefits. So I want to plead with the secretary to download this, on the charts. You have the website there. You can check there. And the second information that I would like to share is about, which also has to do with this fund. The federal government is actually looking for individuals who will be willing to take some responsibility to manage, this fund, so people can take advantage of, their knowledge to give community service. So you have an opportunity, and like I said, the website that you are seeing is also available for us, to take advantage of. So the third one that we would like to share, and I'm sure some of us should by now know, that the COVID-19 second dose are now being, applied on individuals. So we want to encourage all of us to please take advantage of this. From tomorrow, people are already taking it. In fact, so you don't want to wait again. Again, by this Saturday, I want to encourage us. There is a Nigerian Canadian town hall meeting. It's going to be about 7 p.m. Nigerian time and 1 p.m. Winnipeg time. So we have the Zoom link for you to please take advantage of. The fifth one that I would like to share is also about the extended passport intervention program. So a second batch is coming up, and then we have the website for you to log in if you also want to take advantage of this. All of this information will be, uploaded into our platform. That is the Telegram platform. So you can also take full benefit of it. And then we want to plead with us, just being part of us. The annual due remains just $100. And for those who have shown keen interest in our program and you want to give some financial support, we have the Interact, indicated here, npim.mb@gmail.com. So whatever you can do, all of your funds and donation will be dutifully acknowledged. So I want to thank you. If there are other information, I'm sure we'll be sending it to our platform. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, well, the time just rolled by so fast. This is one we're on the top of the hour, 1.5 hour here, which we have scheduled to hold this session. We are going to have a recording of this so that we can share with the community, especially those who have not been able to make it for one reason or the other. But it is important here as a take home for us as a community that there is a lot that has been shared here in terms of the wellness and all the different areas that has been mentioned by the guest speaker. The one thing that I can see here is that she mentioned that talk is therapeutic. I do remember that when they actually mention about wellness or mental health challenges, one of the things that they will normally tell those who are going through the crisis is to talk to people. Even if it's just one person that you are close to, if you are having these challenges, talk to somebody because it helps. I can tell you about how my journey was when it comes to mental wellness, but until you actually experience this thing, there's no amount of words that I can say that can describe it to you, honestly. But it helps a lot to talk. And that is what Joyce also has mentioned there. No matter how difficult it is, it's something that is attached to shame, in our community. And this is the reason why you see a lot of people don't talk about it until it has become a major challenge. And then we don't want to get to that extreme case that she was talking about there. So it's always great to talk. And then also, just to bring you back on some of the things that we are doing, we mentioned some of those in April. We are working, executives are working consistently to see how we can introduce some new activities that can help to really grow our community platform here as Nigerian professionals. Well, some of those things you have seen that we have introduced the community updates. We also have this Telegram that we're currently using to just distribute information, but hopefully we can set some rules around how we use that platform so that we can make it open to everybody so that we can have this back and forth communication amongst the community. Finally, one other thing that I would also like to share with us here is to provide feedback. That's also one of those things we're introducing here so that we can hear back from the community to know really what type of event you like to listen to or what type of topic you would like to learn more about and what type of event you consider to be important. Well, even for this one we are today, I'm going to be sharing a feedback form with us as we draw to a close so that we can provide our feedback. So I'm sharing this link. I don't know if any of the executive members have the link there. Kind of struggling a little bit to get the link on my side here. Let me try again. Uh, I'm gonna give it a shot again. Get the link. Okay, copy. Okay. Yeah, I think I probably got it this time. So this is the link where you can provide feedback about this event, and you we will really appreciate that because it help us to improve on our events. That is it from me. We appreciate the time you have spent with us here. Last time we had this event, when the speaker finished speaking, all of a sudden everything just went. you know, it was a technical issue. It wasn't intentional, just to let you know. So, but this time around, I think we have an opportunity to say goodbye. So, you guys have a great weekend there. The July 1st Canada Day is coming. Make sure you take some time out, go out there. We're opening up now, so it feels like it's a great thing to see Canada opening again. And you have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.